Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Bitcoin news with the fast facts. Bitcoin is back at $58,000. Forbes has reported Bitcoin could hit $1 million this cycle with a $20 trillion market cap. Washington Post, on the other hand, they're calling Bitcoin absolutely worthless. Little bit of a PSA, USDT is working with the FBI. Samson Mow puts out a warning about cold storage devices. And Tim Draper thinks there could be a massive run into Bitcoin after the European Central Bank Board reports on banking systemic risk. Before we dive into the Forbes article, I want to bring up Milton Friedman. Let's get it.
I think that the internet is going to be one of the major forces for reducing the role of government. The one thing that's missing, but that will soon be developed, is a reliable e-cash. A method whereby on the internet you can transfer funds from A to B without A knowing B or B knowing A. The way in which I can take a $20 bill and hand it over to you, and there's no record of where it came from. And you may get that without knowing who I am. And that kind of thing will develop on the internet, and that will make it even easier for people to use the internet. I think that...
And we have got that. We'll come back to that. Hold that thought in your head for a moment. But Forbes, digital assets, very, very high. 20 trillion Bitcoin predicted as Stampede suddenly sends the price. Soren, we will dive into the price, but I do want to cover what has come out by Forbes here. So the Bitcoin price has swung from highs of about 70,000 per Bitcoin last month to lows of under 50K last Monday. The rebound coming along with the stock market rally has been helped by two of the former US President Donald Trump's sons, Eric and Don Jr., have teased a big crypto announcement. We're going to get into their big crypto announcement. Quite a few people think they're going to launch an altcoin. He's come out, said it's definitely not that. Pretty interesting, we'll see. But now, after Trump floated a radical plan to solve the US debt crisis, legendary trader Arthur Hayes has predicted the Bitcoin price could soar to $1 million, something that would give Bitcoin a market cap of $20 trillion. Before we go on with this article, who is Arthur Hayes? According to Wikipedia, Arthur Hayes, born 1985, is an American entrepreneur and co-founder, former CEO of cryptocurrency exchange BitMEX. He graduated from the Wharton School of Business in 2008. Hayes was reported as being the youngest African-American crypto billionaire in history. In 2022, Hayes pled guilty to the U.S. Bank Secrecy Act violations and was sentenced to 6 months of home detention, 2 years of probation, and a $10 million fine. Looks like he escaped that one pretty well. But the Bitcoin price in the cycle is going to go very, very high. Hayes, a co-founder of Bitcoin and crypto derivatives pioneer BitMEX, told DL News, hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe 1 million. Hayes, who now runs the Maelstrom Fund family office, said he believes the world is entering a period where the global monetary architecture is completely changing. This is what Milton Friedman was talking about earlier this week. As the unwinding of the Japanese yen so-called carry trade tanked the Bitcoin price, crypto and stock markets, Hayes predicted US Treasury Senate Janet Yellen would be forced to intervene in a future financial crisis and fix it with printed money. Money printer, go Brewer. Like any politician, regardless of the party affiliation or economic beliefs, Vice President Democratic Party 24 nominee Kamala Harris will instruct Yellen to use the monetary tools available to her to avert a financial crisis. Pretty interesting. It's coming out of the European Central Bank Board as well at the same time. Of course, that means money printer will go Brewer in some way, shape, or form. Harris will not want Yellen to wait. She'll want Yellen to act forcefully and immediately. The money printing is already here. We'll show you the receipts coming up shortly. Shout out to everyone watching live and watching the replay this morning. Let us know if you're on X or on YouTube and say, g'day. This is who Arthur Hayes is. Grayscale, they predict a Bitcoin 2 rally. I'm bringing up the bullish stuff first, and we've hit 59 already. This is all we need to do is just buy, stack, and chill. I went to buy. The funds are still not there. The banks, they don't operate on the weekend. What an absolute pain. Anyway, I don't care what the price is. We just opt out. In August 8, research report analysts at Grayscale expressed optimism about the US economy's ability to achieve a soft landing. That sounds like gaslighting, but Grayscale also highlighted the change in the US political landscape regarding the crypto industry might lessen the downside risk to valuations, contrasting with previous market cycles. The firm emphasized that the potential for significant losses, this is really interesting, might be more constrained even in a weaker economic setting than in past cycles. This is due to consistent demand from newly listed US ETF products and the muted performance of altcoins. The world is healing with the muted performance of altcoins. But the Washington Post, on the other hand, when markets get scary, crypto proves it's worthless. Now, they're conflating the two, crypto and Bitcoin. This is a lack of reading the books. This person here, who is this? We'll get to their name at the end. We'll name and shame because they will be eating the bugs. There, Megan McArdle. Well done. The Washington Post is owned by Jeff Bezos as well. This complete propaganda. But let's uncover their lies. From practically the time Bitcoin launched in early 2009, I've been wondering what the heck it is good for. One said this first cryptocurrency was a refuge from government. It is. The other, possibly the one embraced by Bitcoin's creator, said it was an alternative to the corruption, instability, and self-deal in a financial system that had just finished wrecking itself and everyone else along with it. Well, it does that as well. Alas, neither of these theories have panned out. Well, they have. Indeed, as in Monday's market meltdown, well, short term, cryptocurrencies have often done the opposite of what they are supposed to do. Cryptocurrencies are worthless. Bitcoin, on the other hand, though Bitcoin and other crypto might be useful in places such as Venezuela, where monetary policy is so awful. This is the advertisement. There's a little bit of signal here. Where monetary policy is so awful that anything including a can of mackerel is an improvement over the local currency. It isn't a good substitute for money anywhere that has a reasonably well-run central bank. There are 0 reasonably well-run central banks on the face of the planet. Maybe over in El Salvador, potentially in Argentina as well. It's insane. Anyway, its architecture is too cumbersome. Transactions take minutes, even hours, to be processed through the blockchain. Normal banking system can take 3, 5, 7 days for final settlement, and you can't roll this back in the slightest. You can ameliorate this problem by using a third-party processor like an exchange or Lightning or Liquid. But at this point, you started to recreate the financial system you hoped to replace. Liquid and Lightning are very different to an exchange, except without the protection against theft and abuse that have developed over centuries. That's why you hold it in cold storage and you just move little bits onto your wallet, whether it's Lightning or Liquid, to be able to spend. Anyway, rather than a currency or a substitute for the banking system, Bitcoin evolved in its own volatile asset class, whose value has ranged within just the past year from about 25K to 70K. And this person's crying because they probably didn't get it, my opinion, $25,000. Still a good deal at $70,000. It's what they fail to understand. The crypto ecosystem that grew up around Bitcoin, all the other cryptocurrencies appear to be reliable and stable. And to be less reliable and stable and more corrupt than the established banking system. 100% agree with altcoins, with the cryptocurrency, but completely disagree with Bitcoin. The best thing that can be said about it is that it doesn't matter much. Yes, we see higher rates of inflation in many other parts of the world. The US being the world reserve currency, it's a little bit harder to notice, but it is losing rapid amounts of value very quickly. Let me just ask everyone there, if you're living in the States or anywhere in the world, if you're saving in fiat, has your life got better or worse over the last 4 to 5 years? That's probably a pretty good argument of why this is wrong and complete propaganda. Just a PSA, USDT became a global CBDC governed by the US federal regulation. No one was talking about it. So what this is about, Tether to allow FBI access is crypto cooperation, a sign of maturity. Key takeaways. Tether has responded to allegations that it hasn't done enough to prevent the illicit use of USDT. Stablecoin issuer has written to senators, outlining a new proactive wallet freezing policy and closer collaboration with US law enforcement agencies. If it's not Bitcoin, it's an S-coin. Car coin. Anyway, Tether says it recently onboarded the Secret Service in the process of granting similar access to the FBI. Have fun playing with Fiat 2.0 if that is you. This is why we Bitcoin. This is so based. I don't even care about profits in Bitcoin. I I just want to see the government and banks piss themselves. Bitcoin is building a better world. Gulch, gulch in cyberspace. Crucial Bitcoin security warning issued by Samson Mow. It's not as scary. You just need to do the right things. Be prepared for it. What Samson Mow has put out. A vocal Bitcoin supporter, chief executive at Jan 3. He has agreed to come on towards the end of the year as well over the weekend. So we'll make that happen when the time is right. But a company that helps nation states to adopt Bitcoin has addressed the cryptocurrency community about the issue of secure Bitcoin storage. Even cold storage cannot be cold enough, he believes. Completely agree. Samson Mow believes that is vitally important to make sure a Bitcoin holder cannot easily access his Bitcoin stored in a cold wallet. Therefore, please, 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 according to his tweet, it's crucial that private keys to a Bitcoin wallet are not stored at home. Never, ever. Another PSA, obviously over the weekend, that debate with British Hodl, hosted by Fred Krueger and Giovanni about the power law came out. And there's two mindsets. There's the fiat mindset of trading Bitcoin to be able to get more Bitcoin. 90% of traders are going to lose 90% of their funds. It's probably higher than that, but that's a pretty good statistic. Anyone that's been around for a very long time is not trading Bitcoin. They're saving in Bitcoin. If their purchasing power has gone up and they take that out, they're not looking to trade the tops and bottoms with things like the power law. So don't trade, just save in Bitcoin. If you'd like me to do a full breakdown of what my thoughts actually are on British 3 rules, the power law, when they can benefit, because it's good and bad for both sides, let us know. But don't trade, just save. Why isn't the Bitcoin price higher? Most market participants are still irrational. They're buying Bitcoin to try end up with more dollars. Irrational participants equals irrational market. It's up to you to do so at your own peril. Another PSA here, if you use 1Password on Mac, you need to update it ASAP. This is according to Jameson Lott. Cybersecurity, digital security is absolutely important. That's obviously why I work with the Bitcoin Way. Quick shout out to today's sponsor, the Bitcoin Way. Andy is on the team. Successful morning. In less than 2 hours, the following was accomplished with the client. Number one, they completely set up a de-Googled phone. How cool is that? Number two, installation of more than 10 open source, privacy-friendly apps, including VPNs, firewalls, password managers. Going back to that 1Password on Mac, the Bitcoin Way can help you out there. And encrypted communications, absolutely imperative. Download a non-custodial wallet and connect it to a zone node. This is why what you get when working with the Bitcoin Way. So who are they? The team has 25 years cybersecurity experience. They'll teach you how to protect your devices, hold it in self-custody, run a node, make sure it is air-gapped, protect your devices with Casper, lock down your security infrastructure, and they can help you diversify your residency through another citizenship. Best thing about it, the first 30 minutes is free. Call them up, find out if you're doing everything right or what you need to tweak, work with them. The team, absolutely epic. We'll get Tony back on the show shortly. Busy man, always traveling and sending the signal. Oh, and one thing that we're starting to do now here at home is their inheritance planning side of things, which is vitally important. So Tim Draper, wow, the shadow loans. This run on the dollar to Bitcoin may come faster than I thought. What he's talking about here is an article here on Seeking Alpha, the biggest systemic risk to the banking system. I'm just going to race through a couple of things really quickly. Vulnerabilities in non-bank financial intermediation, which is NBFI. I'll read that again. Non-bank financial intermediation, including pockets of hidden or excessive leverage, remain a potential source of systemic risk. Combined with rich asset valuations in some markets, these vulnerabilities raise the potential for sharp price corrections in the event of a shock. Such shocks could be more likely amid heightened geopolitical uncertainty, which is going on at the moment, which highlights the importance of enhancing international collaboration. Recent incidents of market stress and liquidity strains have demonstrated that NBFI can create or amplify systemic risk. Many of the underlying vulnerabilities that contributed to these incidents are still largely in place, leaving the global financial system susceptible to further shocks. Couple more things. Addressing leverage-related vulnerabilities in NBFI is another important aspect of our work to promote financial stability. Non-bank entities have been taking on additional leverage, sounds like 0809, through off-balance sheet exposures which have grown significantly over the past decade. The growth of shadow lenders has been increasingly strong over the past decade. However, the regulators have only started to discuss this of late. In addition to FSB's statement, there was also an interview with Elizabeth McCall. Now, the Archios capital case showed that even the bankruptcy of one shadow lender could lead to major issues at the largest global banks. As a reminder, the bank posted almost $10 billion in losses. If your money's in a bank, it is probably not safe, in my opinion, from the default of Goes Capital. I know I'm butchering that, bear with me, but Credit Suisse suffered the most as the bank recorded $5.5 billion in losses on a notional exposure of over $20 billion. At the time, Credit Suisse tangible equity was CHF 38B. In other words, its exposure to AC was more than half of its equity. The default of AC was one of the key reasons for Credit Suisse collapsing its acquisition by UBS. Few more things. So according to the Fed, loans to shadow lenders granted by US banks reached $1.15 trillion as of the end of June. Lending growth to these entities has been increasingly strong over the past decade, as the chart below shows. These loans skyrocketed by more than 200% from around $300 billion of January 2015 to $1.1 trillion as of June 24. These loans now account for almost half of the sector's total equity. Probably the most interesting part of the story is that loans to shadow bankers granted by the 25 US largest banks have grown at an even higher price, as they've increased by more than 265% since Jan 2015. As the chart below shows, almost 70% of these loans to shadow banking intermediaries were granted by the 25 US largest banks. I don't know, prepare. If the banks start failing, obviously they're going to inject huge amounts of liquidity. We may see the largest money printing this cycle the world has ever seen. Then again, we may not, and we need to wait another cycle. Sooner or later, the financial system is going to collapse. And that's why I'm against the power law. Because if you're trying to trade the top and bottom and a bank collapses just as it comes down a little bit, and there's a huge flight, and you never buy back in, you end up with less Bitcoin, shame on you. It's unfortunate. The thing we need to do right now is just buy, stack, and chill, get as much as possible, especially if this is your first cycle. Just save as hard as you can for 4 to 5 years before you even think of selling it. If you get lucky, you take a little bit of profit out. Well done, but please don't do that with your whole stack. Bitcoin is the money. You need to go from an investing mindset to a saving mindset. And if you want to improve your life because you've made huge gains in purchasing power, so be it, but have different accounts. Cold storage account for your retirement to be able to pass on to your future's future, and then have one for savings. And as that savings power increases, use that. But trying to time it with lines going up and to the right, maybe they help a little bit, but most people are not aware or a math PhD or math whiz to be able to understand those. Maybe someone like James Check may be a little bit more level-headed for the common person to be able to understand. But Morgan Stanley alone, according to their website, 1.5 trillion in assets under management, 3% allocation to Bitcoin would mean an investment of 45 billion into the ETFs. At a clip of 150 mil a day, this would take 300 days, add roughly $117,000 to the price of each Bitcoin. That's just one person, just Morgan Stanley. Everyone else is coming slowly, then suddenly, and it'll keep going in perpetuality. That's the wrong word as well. Good morning. It's Sunday for most people, early Monday morning for me. We're still warming up. But Lawrence Lepard, Japan, this is in regards to last week. We were just kidding. August 7, Bloomberg. In less than a week, Japan has completely upended the world's expectations for its markets and economy. The country was the darling of the financial world for over a year. Its weak currency pushed the stock market to record highs and rekindled inflation after decades. Then the Bank of Japan hiked rates last Wednesday, 25 basis points, and Governor Kuzu indicated he intended to keep going, helping trigger a sharp rise in the yen while gyrations across global markets. The game is rigged against you. Traders and investors were enforced to abandon strategies based on macro views that Japan's currency would start weak and interest rates wouldn't rise too fast. Without a doubt, this is absolutely new ground for markets. There's soul searching everywhere. Now that we have a Bank of Japan that seems hell-bent on getting away from years of zero or negative rates, said Stephen Miller, a consultant at Grant Samuel Funds Management and former BlackRock Inc. fund manager. Japan is now at the center of emergent worries across everything: stocks, bonds, yen, credit, everything. The fiat system is rigged against you if you haven't already worked it out. In regards to money printing, let me zoom in a little bit. This is the US M2 money supply, and you can see it is starting to tick back up from a recent low of 20.6 trillion, and it's over $21 trillion. Now, this is going to keep going up exponentially. I think we're going to see what we saw here, a sharp rise. I think it's going to be higher, and eventually, over time, this is never going away. This trend that we have seen, even if we go all the way back like this, we're going to go into that parabolic stage sooner rather than later, in my opinion. Most important thing, one Bitcoin is still one Bitcoin. They cannot debase it. They cannot confiscate. They cannot take it away. They cannot get in the way of you spending, saving, using Bitcoin for whatever you deem. Keep that in mind. But 856,371 on the block clock. We're still 193,000 plus blocks to go until the next halving. Looking forward to it. Sats per USD, 1,692. A nice 69 this morning. That number looks better. 1,691. The exchange rate, 59,000. Last block, it looks like they've caught back up again. 3 minutes and 17 seconds. I watched one earlier, and it was about 5 minutes old. Average block time still a little bit slow, 10 minutes 28. So we will get a difficulty adjustment down shortly. Bitcoin price today, 58,547. When I started looking this morning, I saw it as high as 58,800, but it is lower as we hit refresh, sitting just on, 59,000. Even better, it's higher than when I started researching this morning. It has ticked back up. Please don't worry, 58,000, 50,000, 70,000, none of these things matter. In my opinion, and not financial advice, Bitcoin's going to $0 or it's going to $1 million to start off with. Whether that happens this cycle or it takes another 5, 10, 15, 20 years, it really doesn't matter. They can't stop money printing. Bitcoin is, even in the words to Larry Fink, a flight to quality. It's the best form of savings the world has ever seen. Through saving in fiat dollars, you can work so long they can double the money supply in 4 short years. Say it took you 20 years to save all that money. They've taken 10 years of your life away from you. They cannot do that with Bitcoin, and over time, that compounds your life force energy that you are saving into the system. In a 5-year period, Bitcoin has not returned less than 100% or 98.8%. I've been doing a little bit of research for a video on how to retire off Bitcoin, how much you need, depending on where you are in the world, how long you've got to go until retirement, how to be able to live off it perpetually. But every 5 years, if you only get a double from here on in, that's much better than losing by saving in fiat. Anyway, in the last 24 hours, we have had a high of 61,562. It's dumped down to 58,371 as the low, and we are back at 59,000. We've got 59,300 in the background. Either way, it's all gravy, and the lower, the better. 42,000 I'd be grateful for, but Bitcoin Munger, I called the rip back to 60K and called this dip down to 58K. BTFD, buy the flippin' dip like the Binance whales currently are. Best advice that I have come across in my feed. Paolo, I think I'm going to do a whole video doing it, but this gentleman, I own nothing, not happy. If 70% or most long-term holders were doing this successfully, that's trading the top and bottoms, Bitcoin would be concentrated in fewer hands. In the real world, that isn't happening. My original 10 Bitcoin is just now over 1 Bitcoin. I know plenty of people who have less now than 10 years ago. No one I know has more. You're not getting it back. When Bitcoin rips, it runs, and it is too little too late. You can't wind back the price of the block clock over time. Max Kaiser diving in there against Sailor. Sailor propounds my Bitcoin global hash war idea I've been pushing since 2017 and moved to El Salvador to implement. We moved to El Salvador to help win the global hash war, and so far El Salvador is way in the lead. The US has a lot of catching up to do. So what Sailor says he would share with either presidential candidate if he were to advise on crypto policy: Bitcoin's digital power. You want Bitcoin, you want to own cyberspace, you want the most digital power, just like you want nuclear power, air power, and space power. It's a 4-minute 40 video. We will come back.
This political football.
Come on, Sailor. You just can't stop sending the signal. We will come back to that at the end of this live stream. FYI, Operation Choke Point 2.0 is still out there. We have covered this multiple times in depth. Be aware, you can still buy Bitcoin. You can still get your fiat off the central bank exchange into the world's hardest asset into cold storage currently. Hopefully you have some just in case you need it. Don't think it's going to happen to you. Lebanon, Venezuela, Argentina, it keeps getting worse in many places. Argentina's turning around, but still you're better off in Bitcoin. They're not talking about a meme coin. We are talking about a larger platform. We want to take on the banking world. I think you'll find this quite fascinating.
Am I dropping a coin? No. You're the best. Am I dropping a coin? No. No, what we're talking about is sort of a larger type of platform. Not going to be sort of very different. It's not like it's not a meme coin. That's not what we're going to be talking about. But we got a long time before we can do it. I think what we want to do is sort of take on a lot of the banking world. I think there's been a lot of inequality in that only certain people can get financing, only certain people can do these sorts of things. So, this notion of decentralized finance is obviously sort of very appealing to guys like me who've been debanked or haven't been able to get insurance or whatnot. Can't get mortgages because they don't check certain boxes, but others can. So I think there's a whole thing where we got to talk about those things. You're the best.
Interesting. Bitcoin already is a central bank in your pocket when you're holding self-custody. You run your own node. We'll see what they come up with, what they propose. Just in reference here to a comment by Danny Yu, I don't see the power law as a trading tool. Absolutely well done, brother. Have you read the book Scale? Yes, I have. It's an incredible book, and I recommend everyone to read it. That's what it's about. Power law just means Bitcoin is a beast that can't be stopped. That's 100% the right mind frame. Whether it's the power law, stock to flow, just looking at Bitcoin's price history, all of it indicates Bitcoin goes up and to the right. Whatever allows you to get your conviction to be able to see Bitcoin goes up and to the right over time. And don't worry about the ups and downs. That's the whole point of it. And then Danny, you are saying I'd follow Giovanni's guidance over British the robe hodl any day. I'd like to question that. Maybe as a person, you connect with Giovanni more. I understand the guy is super sharp, super intelligent. All of that, I get that. But pushing people to be able to try time the tops and bottoms, that's very dangerous. British hodl's rules. I don't agree with British hodl on everything, especially the ETS, the financial fiat system that's coming to Bitcoin. It's just Bitcoin in self-custody, provide more value to be able to earn more fiat, to be able to stack more Bitcoin. That's my game plan. But in regards to the 3 rules, buy Bitcoin, stay quiet, get fabulously wealthy, I believe are way better for more people, the average person, the majority of people, than try time the tops and bottoms looking at this thing that needs to change. It's very useful to be able to bring people in. It's very indicative. And it'll probably keep working for a while. Or maybe it doesn't. Maybe it breaks. But to be able to use that, I think the better message is get to 1 Bitcoin or get as much Bitcoin as you possibly can for as long as you possibly can while you still can. And then just chill. Just absolutely relax. That's the way that I think about it. as well. I don't want people to be able to trade. Most people that trade end up getting less. President and CEO of the Fed Boston says if the data is as expected, it's appropriate soon to begin easing. Basically, money printing is coming. To a central bank near you, $108 billion VanEck CEO predicts Bitcoin is going to $2.9 million. That's quite a fun little 50-second clip.
Which do you like better, Bitcoin or Ethereum?
Oh, it's very quiet.
What's your
I'm a
price?
gold guy.
Okay.
I'm a gold guy.
Give me your price target for the longer term with
Just really quickly, is that loud enough?
Bitcoin, because right now at about 63,000, where do you see it going?
Right. So about a year ago, I started pounding the table because eventually the Fed is going to start easing here. That's great for gold and that's for Bitcoin. What I said is Bitcoin is growing up and will be eventually half the total market cap of gold. So that's about 350,000. So quite a ways to go from here. The super bulls, if central banks adopt it and it's part of the monetary system, then in the millions, but I don't like to talk about that too much.
What, more than 2 million, more than 3?
Yeah, like 2.9, we've got some model, which is, you have to look at the assumptions.
Right. Well, yeah, they're always.
I was watching an incredibly interesting high signal podcast with Marty Ben and Preston Pish yesterday. And Preston Pish was talking about Bitcoin being somewhere in the realm in the near term of $5 to $10 million of purchasing power for one Bitcoin in the short term. We don't know how much money they're going to print. Everything, whatever it is, whether it's price, the power law, stock to flow, your own gut feelings, getting convinced that Bitcoin now is the money, these prices that we have at $58,900, $60,000, $42,000 if it was to crash all the way down to $3,000, that this is the world's hardest, scarcest asset, and you probably want to get as much as you possibly can for as long as you can, because when it runs, it's game over. People like BlackRock, Morgan Stanley, they do understand property, and Bitcoin is the scarcest property in the world. They won't be giving it up, and not for a much, much higher price. That's the whole reason we're here, for you, just to be able to keep your convictions, to get and understand this, read the books. It's a shifting time and it's a volatile time. And we're going through a transition phase where it's going to be volatile, the fiat system, they're going to prop it up with money printing. Bitcoin's going to keep going up. And Bitcoin still at that stage is not hyper Bitcoinization. But when they try prop it up one more time, and I don't know if that's this time or the next time, or they can keep doing it and keep pushing that can down the road for a while. They can't do it indefinite, and that collapses, and hopefully you've got that store of value over here and you didn't trade it away and go from 10 to 1 like that other gentleman did. Matthew, Preston, shout out to you. This is the way I think about Bitcoin. People DM me and ask me about my Bitcoin strategy. It's simple. Turn all fiat currency I have access to, accept reasonable operating buffers into Bitcoin. Sell all properties except own home and buy Bitcoin. Swap all super except 6K to keep insurance alive to buy Bitcoin in a self-managed super fund. Arbitrage any non-margin call credit you have access to, like a home loan top-up or a redraw to buy Bitcoin. That's up to you. Sell any and all useless depreciating stuff you own to buy Bitcoin. Completely agree. And then hold your Bitcoin and sell none of it ever. Then borrow against it in retirement to create passive income without triggering any capital gains tax. We'll talk about the possibilities of doing that, what's coming into the space, and that how to retire video that will be coming up. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe if we vibe. The Bitcoin news with the fast facts and podcast. So all while paying 0% tax legally. If the law changes where you live by the time you retire, teleport your Bitcoin to a more favorable tax haven. I've got my eyes in Lugano, Switzerland, on the Italian border. I understand this probably sounds crazy to most, but we're just insanely early, like 10 to 20 years early. And when you're early, you get early adopter discounts, like being able to buy Bitcoin around $60,000 instead of $1 million, which is where some predictions indicate it'll be in 2034. If none of this makes sense, just listen to Meatloaf. I'd do anything for love, sell your Bitcoin, but I won't do that. He's got the right mindset. Shout out. save that for another video. Preston Pish, again, the gentleman, high super signal. When I see an intellectual people not understand Bitcoin, what is often preventing them from getting is a deeply held core belief that the world is spiraling out of control and can't get better. Because of this pessimistic conviction, it's almost like it's impossible for them to wrap their head around. It's a very strange yet persistent theme. The comments, the discussion on this are well worth going through, but just a couple. I think it's also a deeply held belief in central authorities. They can't imagine a world where individuals are empowered and accountable to solve their own problems through cooperation versus violence of the state. Empowered, yes, you become that holding Bitcoin, but you do need to be accountable, take 100% self-responsibility for 100% of your actions. If you lose Bitcoin, if your Bitcoin is on paper, my wife had a very close friend last week was charging an electric scooter at their house. Whole house burnt down. They got themselves out. They got the dog out and lost absolutely everything. If they're holding their seed phrase at their house, well, they would have lost it. If they're holding it on paper, they would have lost it. So don't keep it at your house. Don't keep it at your premises, but also do not store it on paper. Steal $21 off Amazon. Costs more. There's titanium in as well. Whatever you do, please do that. Take responsibility for it because nobody's going to refund you, unfortunately. I also see the opposite, where people think the world and system, gov, and centralized systems are all perfectly functional and serving the world properly, so Bitcoin must be a scam, blah, blah, blah. And last one I'll read out. I hear people say that Bitcoin is an IQ test. Frequently, I don't think that's true. I think it's more highly correlated with trait openness and willingness to accept that you're incorrect and need to reevaluate your world views. There is no free lunch. Bitcoin is intrinsically a system of proof of work. Within your own life, you need to put in the proof of work to be able to understand. You need to be able to put in the proof of work to be able to create value in some way to society where you get paid in either Bitcoin or fiat or both to be able to accumulate more Bitcoin. You need to put in the proof of work to realize that the way that you think about the current world is 100%, not 100%, but probably 80% of it is wrong. And that's why I'm such an advocate of reading all the Bitcoin books, reading all the books, reading the book Scale. It is a good book. And we've got Brian DeMint coming on tomorrow. We'll talk a little bit about Parallel, the book, but the why of Bitcoin, the how of Bitcoin. So EQ over IQ, I think it is a little bit of both. Maybe high IQ people have low EQ and they're not allowing their ego to be able to get out of the way, or they think they can get something for nothing. It doesn't happen with Bitcoin. Think of Bitcoin in 4-year holding periods. When you do, a whole lot starts to change. Purchasing power, it goes up over time. You need less and less Bitcoin to be able to get whatever it is that you dream of. That the trading mindset, it's just fiat. It's just the exact same thing. If you want to trade a little bit, if you want to trade all of it, go for it. It's your money. It's your choice. For the majority of people, you're better just to be able to buy, stack, and chill, saving Bitcoin for as long as possible, holding it for 5 years or longer. Your purchasing power is doubling over time, and use a superior form of money as savings. Anyway, Australian Prime Minister, this totally flipping gears, couple of quick PSAs. We'll dive into a little bit of a chat, but freedom of speech is totally gone in the UK at the moment from here in Australia, what it looks like. And now Australia is starting to talk about this. We don't have the right to free speech written into a constitution here, unfortunately. That's why the US is such a lucky country in so many ways. More so than here in many, many ways. Obviously, the central banks everywhere are making planet Earth, which is beautiful, dystopian. But the Australian Prime Minister's extraordinary invitation for Australians to report people who have extreme views sound like something out of a dystopian nightmare. I'll repost it at Sean Clark 911. I don't want to spend too much time on it. Hopefully, like we've showed this video so many times, Klaus Schwab, and you wonder where these orders are coming from? Well, I believe it's the World Economic Forum. In the new world, you have to accept total transparency. It will become integrated into your personality, but if you have nothing to hide, you shouldn't be afraid. It's not in English, so I won't play it. However, rational Aussie, hopefully this comes up, there are no caveats to free speech. It's either free or it's not. The idea that you can legislate various expectations to it, such as hate speech or speech that incites violence or discrimination, is a trick played by the government to slowly erode what's an absolutely innate human right. I've always maintained this position. It's disgusting to see people not understand how dangerous it is, how much of a slippery slope we are on to allow the government to breach further and further into legislation, to restrict and redefine what speech is prohibited and what's not. Lawyers always use BS, vague terms, to define what they mean by these caveats, because that's the entire point. No ordinary person would be able to read the legislation, understand what the F it means. No ordinary person would ever be able to pay for legal representation to defend themselves if charged with one of these BS crimes the UK government is charging people for regarding online violence. The most violent entity in the history of mankind has always been the state. This is a cold, hard fact. The state is the single biggest perpetrator of violence and theft, and their very existence is a result of violence and theft. You need no better example than the recent pandemic. Freedom of speech is the First Amendment to the US Constitution for a reason, because that is what they've fought for, freedom. The rest of the world largely does not understand this, but it is ingrained in American culture, thankfully. As long as America survives, so will the West. But it will be a bumpy ride, and not all countries will make it. The effect of prosecuting the words people say online is that you chill speech. People no longer feel comfortable expressing their views online at all, so they don't. This is exactly what the government wants, absolute power over your mind, because if they can't control your mind, if they can control your mind, they can control you. No one ever sees power with the intention of relinquishing it. This is why we Bitcoin. Get your frickin' Bitcoin off the exchange today, hold in self-custody, run your own node. If you need help, if you live in a dystopian regime, reach out to the Bitcoin way. It's not very expensive to be able to get citizenship somewhere else that probably welcomes you, just to be able to have that plan B. You don't need to go there until you need to go there. But by the time you need to go there and you don't have those things in place, sorry, off to the digital gulag. Maybe it's not as bad as that, but Bitcoin is that plan B. Just hold it, look after it, protect it, save it at all costs. Don't try get rich quick. It'll probably happen. You'll probably get extremely wealthy. Get as much as possible. Be a sovereign individual. That's the mission. Well done. Rational Aussie. Yeah, sorry, a little bit fired up, but that's the whole point of it, not freaking trading. There's digital IDs. They're going on and on about it. This is how they all come together. So 4 minutes 40, how about I repost this? The video has gone on long enough. That's the news with the fast facts. I'll repost that in a sec. If you haven't already, hit subscribe if we vibe. I'm going to have a real quick banter. Elaine, you have natural law. All humans do. Constitutions are but just papers people sign with a promise to protect these rights. But we live in the inverse where governments take away your rights. 100%. The state wants to be able to control you. They want to change the way that you think. And they want to have order. They want to have little drones not speaking out, not causing chaos, mayhem. And I'm not for any violence in any way at all, for any reason. I believe people should be able to talk through. When we get in the way of freedom of speech, it only allows one side's argument. These other people feel disempowered. They're not being given a voice and they fight back. We don't want any of that. So let's just opt out to a better system that's fair, that won't steal from you, that's open, decentralized. Use things like Nostr. Anyway, Kirk Burns this morning, good to see you. High five the like button, legends, greatly appreciated. SPLRU XLM is an altcoin, maybe. Oh man, I haven't looked at altcoins. I think you're talking about a privacy coin for a reason. Usually, I have no idea what XLM. If it's a shitcoin anyway, please don't post it. That's just more Fiat 2.0. And crypto, people are like, you're such a Bitcoin maxi. 100%. I went through the shitcoin journey. It's a mind virus. It is just Fiat 2.0. It's controlled, it's centralized. None of the crypto is decentralized. USDT working with the FBI and the Secret Service, just for an example. It's not freedom money. I'm not trying to play the fiat games anymore. It's all a mind virus, and it just it feeds greed, which is not good. It doesn't feed cooperation. It's more competition, and competition at an elite level can be really good, where people bringing each other up. But where it's fiat and you want to cut other people down, I don't like it. Most people are going to be left holding the bag. If it's a privacy coin that you are promoting there, maybe in and out, they have uses, but do we know how they run in the background? Probably not. Thanks, Sean. I've never read so many books. It's important. It's truly important. I just finished Fiat Ruins Everything last night by Jimmy Song. Jimmy Song and I at the moment are emailing. We'll get him on for a podcast. It really is so important at the moment, like especially like with X, you get these little sound bites and they're rapid fire, and I try to sort them out as much as possible and bring a couple together to be able to get the signal through it. But to be able to go into like a long depth conversation through reading the book with the author or the authors of the book, and for them to be able to express and dive deeper down into their ideas, allows for a clearer, more articulate way of thinking in the world. There's some really incredible books, and last night a couple of people have asked me, book list, how to start. Start with Beers for Bitcoin, then go on to Parallel as the second book. After that, you get it, and they're very easy books to be able to just understand Bitcoin. And if you've been here for a while, or if you're just so interested, the Bitcoin Standard, like that's the apex book. From there, the Genesis book, I believe, is a good book, and then probably Crypto Sovereignty, and then pay attention to Bitcoin, the hidden cost of money. And then I'm still working on the rest of the list, but that's the order that I'd recommend, and that I do recommend now for people. And the debate was a joke. They both could have had more chance. One of the things that I had is if this is working so well, all right, like what's going to be the top, at what date and at what time? You can't get any answer for it. These things change. Bitcoin's one of the most volatile, if not the most volatile asset in the world. Comes down a little bit, you're waiting for a bigger dip, but it goes like that. Sorry, that's on you. You're not getting a refund from anyone. But to be able to see the trend, absolutely fantastic. I appreciate it, and I think these things are good. Same with the price targets. $1 million, like we talk about this, we started the show talking about $1 million. Is it important to talk about? Yes, because it allows people to see where Bitcoin is going. What time frame? Who bloody knows? Arthur Hayes thinks by next year, potentially. Jack Mallers, $250 to $1 million next year. Preston Pish, one Bitcoin being worth $5 to $10 million in the near term future. All these things are just to be able to get you to be like, all right, Bitcoin's going up and to the right. Why is that? Oh, I need to study the books. Oh, there's freedom money, there's resistance money. This allows me to be a complete sovereign individual, not to be subject to the government's whims, not to be silenced in my speech. Okay, that's what's important here. I'm going to save in this because it may just save your life. What about to see a replay of 08-09 banking crisis? We are about to see an 08-09 banking crisis around the world. Completely agree. The very reason that Bitcoin was created by Satoshi Nakamoto, 100% agree. Matthew J, I will ask that question from the Bitcoin way. Let me just take a photo of that, and I'll hit him up and ask. Snoop and Draper foreman for the Olympics. Sweet. Dude, my life has gotten a lot better since I got in Bitcoin. Losers will lose. Matt Warren is back in the house. Brother, I've not seen you for quite a while. Floki, cheers everyone from the States. Bitcoin dropping like a rock again. What? It was at like $50,000 last week. We're at $58,700. That mindset's insane. For what, the last year? Buy when it's red, buy when it's green, because we are going to go up $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. That's the message. But also we're going to come down $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. I've been saying that very consistently. Last week we had a $10,000 day. This is to be expected. This is not unusual. What is unusual is we haven't had the big drawdowns like prior cycles. Very unusual. Maybe the ETFs have a little bit, and we are seeing that. Wall Street is just flooding in. Whales are buying, they are stacking, they are accumulating. And you're worried we've come down 4%. Please don't be. That's the trader mindset. That's the fiat mindset. You get the world's hardest money. You get more sats per dollar today than you did yesterday. Goes down low, you get even more. Goes up high, you still get sats per US dollar. Whatever currency you're using. That's the whole point, just to buy, stack, and chill. That's it. I don't know. Correction, Jeff Bozo. If you have a choice at that point of life, maybe I need to start at the top. Gargoyle in the house, Michael in the house. Mike, hey, g'day. Johnny Midas, good morning. Life of something, of a 40-something. Good to see you this morning. Sunny Wales, UK, it is pissing down out here today. I think we're going to get a whole lot of rain, like 20 to 80 mil is projected, which will be nice. Green everything back up. Dharma couldn't tie his shoelaces. Matthew J. Hi. Opt out of the political circus. Learn Bitcoin. Study Bitcoin. I think that's what he was trying to do when he took the knee. Gargoyle, I have no idea what that's in relation to. Wealth Ranger. World War III pre-planned scare event crash all markets worldwide. In that case, short-term Bitcoin will probably plummet like it did in March of 2020, from 20,000 down to 3,000 in a very short period of time. Having the conviction to be able to smash that red buy button is what it's all about. Opportunities will present themselves. Maybe that opportunity was last week at $50,000. Short term, I have no idea. Nobody has any idea. What I believe strongly within my own conviction is on those opportunities when it's red, when it's dark red, just any red in general is a good time. The darker, the deeper the red, the better it is. Because I'm here forever. And is it like this? Unwrinkle your soul, man. I don't care about profits in Bitcoin. I just want to see the governments and banks piss themselves. I'm sick of people killing each other. That will still happen on hyper-Bitcoinization to a lesser extent because people will want to go to war. They won't just be able to print money for work. War. Ideal world, yes. And war now, it seems it's just all about money printing to be able to inject liquidity. I'm sure they have their own justifications, but the mass slaughter of our fellow humans for any reason, I absolutely despise. I want the governments to die. I want them to be able to piss themselves. Well, governments, they'll still be here. People elect someone in power. I just want them to be more transparent, more accountable. And I know even that's not ideal, but you know, if you had a head chief of the village, makes more sense than this overswollen bureaucracy that's so sick and sinister. Wealth Ranger, I agree. Matt Warren, it is so good to see you. Gargoyle, BH had to block. Geo, yes. Does the Bitcoin way? I will ask them. Matthew J. Elaine, it is good to see you this morning. Danny, I read it out earlier. I'll read it again. Don't see the power law as a trading tool. Definitely read the book Scale. That's what it's about. Power law just means Bitcoin is a beast that can't be stopped. 100%. Whatever gives you your conviction to do that. And even over the weekend, I said that to Giovanni many times, several times, is just advertise it as this is something good to be able to focus on to get your conviction that Bitcoin's going up and to the right. Unless you're a math whiz and elite trader, you know how to trade. Maybe it's a tool to add in for most people. Probably just better to follow the British Hodl's 3 rules will have the better result for more people. Perpetuity, see Elaine, it's one of those words that just won't stick in. Aloha, morning legends, don't hesitate. Lightning goats in the house. Lightning goats, I was watching the goats, it was so sick. Lightning goats on YouTube, everyone check it out, it's so cool. You can use lightning to be able to feed goat. It's epic. It's really, really epic. Sean, fan of the show, do you have a set time you go live every day? 7:35 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, 7:30, 7:35, which I believe works out to be 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the US. It'd be, maybe I need to look it up as UTC. Let me, UTC, 7:30 a.m. AEST. Okay, 2 seconds. It's the way I wrote it. Does not like it. So that's Monday to Friday, Australian time. Yeah, it's not. There we go. So 9:30 p.m. UTC time, or I think 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Otherwise, Brisbane time, Australia. You look at that, 7:30 a.m. Is when we go live. Elaine, we read that one. It's so good to see you this morning. Catching live, Soul Surfer from Manila, Philippines. Get Rational Aussie on for a chat, mate. I've reached out a couple of times to Rational Aussie. I so want to. I agree so much. The person is so based. And I don't know if they're a young person or an old person that's just absolutely fed up, but they see things very clearly. Their comments well worth somebody to follow there over on X. But I'll keep following that one up. Rational Aussie. Johnny Moo, appreciate. Got to go. See you later. Rob in the house. It's been a minute, mate. Started putting most of my online energy into Nosta. Can't give up YouTube yet, though. Just stacking and chilling. Spend more time on the golf course. Matt Warren is winning at life. Market was afraid of Asia opening. JP1, Feds help, buy Bitcoin. People understand Bitcoin. Buy Bitcoin, those who don't criticize it. Pissing on the Gold Coast. Yeah, how interesting. When we're coming back from Victoria last week, it was overcast all the way from Victoria, all the way up the coast, like thousands of kilometers. At least the whole time, like when I was looking out, I was mainly reading that Fiat ruins everything. But huge cloud. But yeah, I think there is a whole lot of rain happening everywhere. What day is it there? I don't know. No, it's Monday. Monday morning, incredible low transaction fees, dip in the price, don't get much better for OGs. Buy, stack, and chill. You have got it sorted. If you haven't already, hit subscribe if we vibe. Do something nice for yourself, for somebody else. Maybe a couple of things that you could do very easy. If someone's having a bad day over on the interwebs or whatever, give them a timeline cleanse. Send out a nice, cute photo of your dogs or whatever. Just something that you'd usually just scroll past, do that. Whatever it is, life, planet Earth is beautiful. People are people. Humans are humans. We're the one race, and that's the human race. Care for somebody else. Maybe it's donate some money to a homeless person. Whatever it is, by doing that, like the best thing is it makes you feel better at the same time. That shouldn't be the sole reason, but it's, I don't know. It's a good thing to be able to do. I think that's what they're still here for, to be able to pay it forward and opt out of the dystopian regimes that are going on. Buy Bitcoin. We'll see you tomorrow. Be blessed. Peace.